How's it going? This is Dr. Schulman. We're going to be doing the curriculum assessment. So I know I went over a lot of this in the curriculum intro, but if you want to do the actual assessment, I want to go over all the parts. So might be a review if you saw it before, but I still wanted to share all the pieces that have to go with it. So I'm going to share my screen. All right. And we're going to go into modules. And here is the curriculum creation. So now if we click this, it'll open. But most things about curriculum, right? What is it? It's just there's a lot of different definitions for it, but it's just about planning out everything you're going to do. So how do you want to set up your curriculum? Do you want to backwards plan it based on your final? Do you want to set up in a spiral where you're hitting things over and over again? Do you want to do big strands where a bunch of them are clumped together? Those are basically the options, but thinking about it all at once can be really challenging. I think it's challenging to think about a whole course all at once. Like if you want to think about the course I created for you as becoming math teachers, I had you talk about why you wanted to be a teacher, do some pre-tests to see if you'd actually be able to pass the test to become an elementary school math teacher, look at all the assignments and kind of see which ones you'd like. Then I'm breaking it down based on the licensure exam. The licensure exam for elementary school teacher has three parts. It's got curriculum, it's got instruction, it's got assessment, and then there's a final. So that's how I broke it down. And the way that I'm doing it is like these are all the parts of curriculum that they want you to be able to do. Sequencing, examples in a lesson, sequencing lessons in a unit, strategy for misconceptions, and making connections to other pieces. Now, just hearing about it, I didn't think it'd be useful enough. I wanted to prepare you also for your first day in the classroom. That's why you would do a lesson planning assignment, but you also get to pick which one of these you think is the most interesting to you. The instruction, I'm setting up basically every single topic that you have to do to pass the exam. They all have, I'm going to do videos for like every part of it, as well as a quiz and a test. Finally, the assessment piece. So they want you to do formative, summative, and misconceptions and using appropriate assessment. So again, there's four parts. Here I only gave you, you have to project-based learning. I think it's just so useful to like try to think of another way to give a test that's just not a piece of paper. And then I gave you gamification for review, assessment, assignment, grading policy, and stuff on standards. So you get to pick one of those four. But that's the way that I decided to build this curriculum or this course. Now, if you go through this, how are you going to evaluate things, set of rubrics, what are your learning goals, what are your time constraints? They're all things that I always think about. It's like how much time. This is a one semester course. So like I'm like, okay, how much can we really do in one semester? I thought two written assignments, a bunch of these are it says tests, but they're basically just like little quizzes, right? So it's like quiz, and a test on the unit, quiz, test on the unit, quiz, test on the unit, quiz, test on the unit. So you've got quizzes and tests, but you really only have four papers to write as well as a final. And the final is just going to be I'm trying to decide how hard I want to make it right now, but it's basically just going to be questions from old practice exams for the elementary school. So that's what the final is going to be. So four papers. I don't know how many tests, but there's going to be these quizzes and tests, but the tests are going to be long. It's just different types of problems. And then the final. So it's really depending on how much you think students can do, and you kind of tweak it. I always try to add more. The first time I had the course set up, there was a lot more to do, but I keep trying to just make sure that it's enough to accomplish where you still got a lot out of it. Now you might think this is way over the top. Four papers, like five tests, five quizzes, and some tests, and a final. So if that's way too much, I'll tweak it. I'll move it moving forward. But those are things you have to think about. Like how much time do you have? what do you want to make sure you cover? So for this course, I've been like really trying to think about how best to do it, but I'm like, okay, 4 papers, some quizzes and tests, and a final. I thought that would just make the most sense, but everything's different. Everybody's ability to handle new information is different. So it's all about what you're trying to do throughout it. So what is the curriculum? There's a bunch of ways. So specific and prescriptive, this is the way that I always see it. It's basically just all of the standards that you want to cover. I'm basing it on your licensure exam, plus adding in pieces that'll keep you prepared for your first day in the classroom. Global and all-encompassing is like everything that you see. So this whole idea of global is everything a student's going to experience in the class. If you want that to be part of your curriculum, that's fine. I ascribe to this definition where it's specific and prescriptive. So it's just like the organized set of objectives that you plan to meet and the outline content standards. To me, that makes a lot of sense. This is the learner's experience. So there's a lot of good definitions here. This one's a variety of ideas. That is what is taught in schools. Wilson takes the approach that anything and everything in the lesson. So that's an all-encompassing, just pushed further with politics and society. So it could be like your intentions as well as the standards, or it could just be kind of like the standards and objectives you're trying to hit. Okay, so let's look at design. So there's the design is pretty interesting. Also, if you want to read more about this, you can, but the design I think is really interesting. So we've got a couple of pieces. So what is the purposeful, deliberate, and systematic organization of the curriculum? What are your instructional blocks? To me, this is your modules. The 3 big blocks, which is curriculum, instruction, and assessment. Those are the main blocks. I want you to be the best at it, you know? When teachers design, they identify what will be done, who will do it, and the schedule. So I haven't made the calendar yet, but I usually have to make all the material first. And then we have subject-centered, which is the predetermined list of the standards. I do kind of all 3. Learner centers focus on the specific student's abilities and interests. A big portion of this course you get to choose, which is nice. So half of your papers, you have to write 4 papers, half of them are your choice, which I thought was really big. And then the problem center, using a real world situation to guide the course. You have to pass a licensure exam. So I'm kind of having that be the real world situation and like you being ready for the day. So I think all 3 can happen at the same time. All right. So there are types of student-centered curriculum that adapts to student needs in a variety of novel approaches. So if you want to see a lot more information, here we go. We've got explanations and examples. Emerging based on the principle that children most effectively when they're engaged in experiences that are meaningful and relatable to their own lives. So every one of these that I made, I try to make it meaningful or relatable. I try to make it so you get to do what? You get to rate everything that's out there, decide which is best for you, make your own, and then talk about how you'd use it. So that is my way of making things that are what? A meaningful and relatable experience. Give you a ton of information. Say, I'll use this, I won't use this. This is for me, this is not for me. Then after you rate it, you make your own and then you reflect on it. So I think that's the way I've tried to make as many of these things as I could. And what are the types? Backwards planning I like a lot. So to me, it's not like this. To me, it's like using the final. This is how I always do it. I use the final. I break up the final into what I think the students need to know the most, break that down into units, and then break each unit down. So I backwards plan from final to specific units to that specific days for lessons. And that's how I always make my curriculum. Desired results, determine acceptable evidence, plan for instruction. And these are other types of backwards planning, which I think are really interesting. The difference between understanding design and prioritized learnings. So nice to know, need to know, and must know. That's an interesting way to do it. So if you want to look more on this, I think it's really interesting. Also, we've got stuff from Vanderbilt, which I think is one of the best schools. I'm shocked that I got in. I just could not afford Vanderbilt, but that's okay. So we've got videos, diagrams, examples, the benefits of the approach. So we might as well look at how good they are at everything. So we got videos of understanding design of curriculum. They're just really good. So they talk about the benefits of a backwards design, short-term plans, long-term goals, desired and actual results. Everything about this is great. These teaching guides, this could be like every possible thing. Flipped classroom, Bloom's taxonomy. If you just want to read this, it's probably better than everything I have, but they're not making your course. I am, but I think they just do a really good job of explaining everything. I see it took their figure, but they're great. I think everything they do is really good. I'm a big fan of Vanderbilt, but that's me. That is me. Everybody's different. This looks just like one of my lesson plans that you looked at, obviously. So, I'm a big fan of everything that the Center for Teaching does, and I don't know, just a big fan of it. So, uh, that I digress. So, that's the backwards plan. I'm a big fan of spiral. Well, I'm sorry, no, I'm a big fan of strand, not spiral. So spiral means you do everything a little bit harder along the way. So basically, you keep bringing back, you keep revisiting the same topic. And notice that Bruner is the picture for your course. I don't know if you noticed that, but I really like his book. His main points are like treating people who do math like mathematicians, treat people who are learning science like scientists, just really trying to give them like authentic lived experiences. If you go to dashboard, I'm pretty sure I got a Bruner, a picture of this guy. Yeah, I always want to show you who made the ideas. All right. So every year, but the reason why I don't like it is like, why are you going to teach exponents in third grade, in fifth grade, in seventh grade, in ninth grade, and 11th grade? That's why I think the strand's better. A lot more in depth. You're hitting different things at the same time. So ratios, fractions, number of families, addition, subtraction, all at the same time in one idea. In a big strand, they're longer. You're learning multiple skills at once, and I just think it's really good. So you can read this article if you want to learn more about Strand, but I'm a big fan of the Strand curriculum. All right, so here's what you have to do for this one. You have your own definition in your words, or use a citation of what is a curriculum. Explain the definition and how it relates to your teaching philosophy. Discuss in detail why you chose that definition. So why does this definition mean the most to you? All right, so then your design. So you select with a citation your preferred design. So you could be like, I want to make it subject-centered. I want to make it learner-centered. I want to make it problem-centered or emergent. If you would like to develop your own design, you can do so, but the specifics on what it entails and how it is different from the choices above. So you can do your own. If you don't like subject, learner, problem, or emergent, make up your own and say why. I'm usually a learner-centered person. I use metacognition all the time, and I always want to get the most out of my students by letting them give me feedback throughout the process. In your course, every one of the assignments, you tell me how to change them, how to make it better. So, all right. And then you explain the curriculum design, how it relates to your teaching philosophy. Why does it work for you? Discuss advantages and challenges to employ this design. Discuss in detail why you chose that specific curriculum design. Okay, so then you get to make your own plan and use Lucidchart to draw it, which I think is cool. So select your preferred planning technique, backwards planning, spiral, strand. If you'd like to develop your own, do so, but be specific and say why it's different. Explain the technique, utilize it with a citation, or create an image that aptly describes your planning. So Lucidchart is free. I'm a huge fan of Lucidchart. I've used it all the time. I've used it tons of ways. So you get to create like your own picture of it. I can show you a Lucidchart that I made for a poster that I did for a presentation that I did. So let me go to Drive. And I think it's just under poster, maybe. Yeah, here's one. So this was that dissertation one that I made, I got to speak about it, which was really cool. So I made this cool lucid chart. So what do we have? Prior to my intervention, during the intervention, post-intervention, how did I run my test, the 5C cultural, multicultural mathematics test? And I made it that way. So this is how you can make a pretty little chart. And somehow I got my research to be grant funded. I don't know why they thought mine was good enough, but I can't complain. So you get to make one on Lucidchart, which is fun. It's a free site. You just have to put in your email. Okay, so discusses advantages and challenges to your plan. Discuss in detail why you chose a specific plan or technique. Then you get to reflect on it. What was it like to learn about the different curriculum designs and plans? Was it hard to pick one, your definition, design, or planning technique? Anything surprise you about the variety of ideas? What made you pick one of the existing definition designs and plans instead of creating your own? How would you restructure this assessment to better prepare pre-service teachers for building their own jobs? So what would you do differently? How would you make this? I think that's the biggest thing. If you were to make this assessment to help people learn about curriculum, what would it look like? Here's a bunch of references because this one I had to do a lot of research to come up with like all the definitions of curriculum, and I always want to give credit to the people where it's due. And here are the standards you get to learn about. So there's the NCTM, the INTEST standards. So if we go back in here, I should always show you we're here. And here's the rubric. So you can see how you're getting graded, or you can grade yourself, right? So this is 15 points. Usually I try to make them about the same. So your definition is clear and detailed with proper citation and reasoning. Your curriculum design is a clear and detailed design with choice, with thorough explanation, discussion of advantages. There's your plan is a clear and detailed with thorough explanation of the advantages and disadvantages. So basically, why'd you pick it? Is it detailed? What are the benefits or what are the drawbacks of that, either design or plan? And then the reflection, right? I really want to know how to make this better, what you thought about it, what were your thoughts while doing it, and make it clear and formatted. So I hope this was useful. Feel free to reach out if you have questions as usual, and enjoy your day.